I, as I pointed out earlier, was from Rhode Island, the smallest state in the country. I got elected the youngest member of Congress, and I was in the minority party when I first got elected, which means I am the lowest guy on the totem pole. Now, in Washington, D.C., if you want to sponsor a popular piece of legislation, that makes everybody warm and fuzzy, you probably have to wait around Washington, D.C. 25, 30 years. My father was the sponsor of a lot of major pieces of legislation, but he was in the Senate for nearly 50 years. He was chairman of the big committees. So, of course, he got to put his name first on a popular bill because no one more junior than him could take his place. So to give you a sense of how popular the law that requires equal coverage of mental illness and substance use disorders was, I got to be the first name on the bill as the youngest member of Congress from the smallest state in the country and in the minority party, the lowest guy on the totem pole. Meaning there was no member of Congress that was rushing to beat me to the punch. I don't know why. Maybe they didn't like the words mental health and addiction next to their name. Maybe as politicians they were worried that the next thing that would happen was someone would ask them, do they have addiction in their family? And then, do they have substance use disorders in their family? That's why my colleagues didn't want to sign on to the bill. Now, fast forward. It took us at least 12 years before we actually had the bill passed in the House of Representatives, on the desk in the Senate. The only reason this Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Act became law of the land in 2008 is because my father had brain cancer, and his best friend in the Senate was sitting for him on the Health Committee, and his name was Chris Dodd from Connecticut. And at the same time, Chris Dodd was also chairman of that thing called the Banking Committee. Now, some of you may have recalled what happened in 2008. The stock market dropped, the banks went belly up, and our economy was heading for another Great Depression. And so the Congress had to do something dramatic. So the Congress took over $800 billion out of the taxpayers' money to bail out the most unpopular people in the country. Jamie Dimon, and all those Bank of America, and those big bankers that got us into the problem in the first place. I mean, no one wanted to give these people who lost all the money and made the bet on bad real estate deals